Hello and welcome to the Rank and Report football show from Richmond, Virginia to London, England. I am your host, Adam Booker, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Mr. Charlie Gordon. How you doing, Charlie?
I'm very good, Adam. As you can see, today I'm bathed in the sunlight, which is, we're just not recording at a normal time today, but it means I'm a little bit fresher, got a bit more energy. But yeah, how are you doing? Where are you this time?
I'm good. I'm now in New York, where I've been quarantined for maybe 20-something days, and I'm here till New Year's when my girlfriend gets her new apartment, which then I'll be quarantined there. So I'm just bouncing around like a dirtbag at the moment.
Sounds fun. This could be a
Yeah,
nice
but
little
yeah,
release.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, to kind of give everybody a peek behind the curtain, we normally record in the evening, and it is now 7:57 in the morning right now. I'm having my first cup of coffee of the day and trying to open my eyes as best as possible for this, so it should be good.
Yeah, I mean, it's 1 p.m. for me. I've had breakfast, lunch. I'm feeling wonderful. I'm going to carry the show today. It's all good, guys.
Yeah, I'll be the sleepy one this time. All right, cool. I think we're doing a little restructuring. We're going to give our ranking and reporting as we always do today, and then later this week we're going to record some more videos. This way we get, instead of having to pack everything into an hour-long episode for you guys, we're going to record some more frequent, shorter videos, so we make sure we get all of our discussions that we want to out to you guys. So if you're seeing this right now, then in a few days you'll get another video on, I think we're doing our biggest disappointment club of the year so far, which should be a fun one. And then early next week, we're also going to do some Champions League predictions, which should be a lot of fun as well. So a little bit of restructuring going on.
Yeah. And as well, one thing that we want is for you to comment on the videos, interact with us on Twitter, because one thing we definitely want to get into is answering some questions, some popular or unpopular opinions. We want to kind of address those and get stuck into those, but obviously bit of a smallish audience at the moment, so the opportunities are limited. So help us out and, I don't know, put something in the comments that we can delve into.
Well, it's worth mentioning on that point that our last two rankings episodes have had double the amount of views as we have subscribers. So if you are watching this and you have not subscribed, I know it's because you don't like us, because we are so likable. So hit that subscription button down below, hit the bell to be notified when we release a new video, and you'll be good as gold right there. But with that, I think we should hop into some rankings. What do you think, Charlie?
I think so. Yeah, who's going to take it away this week? Who did it last
I
time?
I believe I started last time, so I'll let you go first with your 10 through 6.
I love that, because I could just go in with a blank canvas. Right, I'm going to start it off then. Number 10, we have got Juventus, who haven't really, they're a massive club, but they've not featured that regularly in this list. For me or you, I know Adam's not the biggest fan of them, but they're currently fourth in a very competitive Serie A. Last two league games was a 2-1 win at home to Torino and a 3-1 win away at Genoa. And then in the Champions League, they won 3-0 at the Camp Nou. So, you know, they're in pretty amazing form. Ronaldo and Morata are basically carrying the team. Ronaldo's on 14 goals in all competitions already this season. So they're going well. They're still undefeated in Serie A. Mind the alarm there. That's showing
It's time to wake up. So
yeah, that's showing what time of the morning it is. But back to Juventus. Yeah, Pirlo's going well. He's trying a 3 at the back formation, still undefeated in the league. Kind of uninspirational, but hard to beat. So Juve are in there at number 10 for me. Number 9, we've got another giant, kind of an underperforming giant, but it's Real Madrid. Have managed to sneak in there this week because their two most recent league wins were colossal. Really, you've got a 1-0 away win at Sevilla, followed by a 2-0 home win against their in-form rivals, Atletico Madrid, and they won against Mönchengladbach in the Champions League. So all three of those wins, very, very tricky, even though their league form before that was pretty dismal, to be honest. Still quite a lot of problems in Madrid. They're relying heavily on Benzema to bring in the goals, but you can't ignore those results. You know, just the magnitude of those results alone is good enough to get them into top 10. So they're number 9. Number 8, we've got new entrants who we're very excited to bring you, and that is Bayer Leverkusen. They're going extremely well. Would you believe it? They're first in the Bundesliga. Where's that come from? They've snuck up from absolutely nowhere. Lucas Alario's got 10 goals in all competitions this season. He's drawing a lot of admirers from around Europe. And then you've got Leon Bailey, who people have known about for a while. He's on 9 goals. 2 recent league games, he got a 3-0 win away at Schalke and a 4-1 win at home to Hoffenheim. And if you didn't see Leon Bailey's goal from that game, it is absolutely ridiculous. It's like something from FIFA 11. Like, it was an absolute joke. Bayer Leverkusen going unbelievably well, beating out some fantastic teams to top the Bundesliga at the moment. So, yeah, they're in there at number 8, deservedly so, really. Number 7, we've got our old favourites. I haven't had them in here for a couple of weeks, but RB Leipzig have snuck back in. Their most recent league results were a 3-3 draw away at Bayern Munich, and everyone knows how hard that place is to go and get a result, so that's a fantastic result for them. And then they beat Werder Bremen 2-0 at home, and then you sprinkle in a wins against Manchester United that is, and Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League. They progressed through that group, a really, really tough group. So they're going well. They've got no proper striker, but they're still going well. Angelino, City's former left-back, just leading the team in goals. 7 goals, 5 assists already this season. It's just, there's weird stuff happening all over Europe, but Leipzig...
Is he the leading scorer in the Champions League this far? I think he is.
Is he really?
He's up there with Lewandowski, yeah. What
a dramatic turn of events. It's the most unexpected thing ever, but yeah, 12 goal involvements already this season. They obviously saw something in him, and Nagelsmann did, and thrust him in at left wing, and he's really coming up with the goods. So Leipzig going well again, and they're in at number 7. Finally, for this segment, we've got number 6. That is Inter Milan for me. They were a little bit unlucky on reflection to not be a little bit higher up this list. Their last 4 league games were all wins. The last 2 specifically was a 3-1 win at home to Bologna and then a 3-1 win away at Cagliari. They're going fantastically well. Lukaku has got 4 more goals for the season since the last episode that we did. He's up to 13. Lautaro Martinez going well on 6 as well. They sit second in a very competitive Serie A. So again, Conte's men going really, really well. They crashed out of the Champions League to Gladbach and Madrid, who went through. They actually finished bottom of the group below Shakhtar Donetsk. So it's a little bit embarrassing, really, but it means they can put all their focus on Serie A this season, which they're doing very well in. So, yes, Inter Milan, 6th place.
It's an interesting episode this week because we were talking about it yesterday, how this is definitely the biggest shakeup we've had of our rankings so far, just because the last 2 weeks that we've been off, there's been basically everybody in our top 10 has dropped points once or twice. So there's a ton of newcomers that may have been there in earlier episodes, but all of a sudden the 1 to 10 is just completely different. When we had a bit of a consistent streak going for a bit, but it's definitely been shaken up a bit. So
no, I'm glad it's been shaken up. Sorry, I'm glad it's been shaken up a little bit. It's like, you know, the informed teams, the biggest teams in Europe, or the most informed ones over the course of this season so far, a lot of them slipped up this weekend, and then a lot of teams who were threatening to make the top 10 have hit like top gear all of a sudden. So now, you know, a massive shake-up's happened. Anyone can get in these power rankings now, and that's why, as you'll see, me and Adam have actually got quite a lot of wide disagreements this week because a lot of it's just open to interpretation. But yeah, go for it, Adam. State your case.
All right, my 10 through 6 is as follows. In at number 10, I have got Olympique Lyonnais. I think they are my first French team since our very first week when PSG were in my initial rankings. So I haven't been giving a lot of love to the French teams, but they haven't given me any reason to until now. Their recent results have been a big 1-0 win in Paris over PSG. They had a 3-1 win versus Metz and a 3-0 win versus Reims, I believe is how you pronounce it. Those French teams always trip me up, I have to say. But they're flying in the league at the moment. They are tied for first. They played brilliantly in that win against PSG. And that game is really suited for them because we saw in the Champions League when they went to a semifinal this year that they are a brilliant counterattacking team. And I think the issue is because they're one of the more respected and more talented teams in Leone, they don't really have the chance to counterattack all that much unless they're playing maybe Marseille or PSG. It's kind of the Manchester United syndrome where they're so good on the break, but when you play in domestic football with that much talent, you have most of the ball, so you don't really get a chance to break that often. But, this is a really talented team. Memphis Depay is still there. Toko Ekambi is still there. Husam Awar is still there. And it's a team that after their long Champions League run last year, it seemed like they were going to be selling players left and right, but they basically kept the core of that team together, and they found themselves in first place right now. So Leon are up in number 10. In at number 9, I have got Real Madrid, who were previously unranked for me. As Charlie said, they had the big win in the Madrid derby. They ended up topping their group, their tough Champions League group, and they had that big 1-0 win in Seville. It was a funny couple of weeks for Madrid because 2 weeks ago when they saw their stretch of games going to Seville, playing Mönchengladbach in a game where they could have actually come out bottom of that group at the end of the day if results had not gone their way. And then going to Atletico Madrid, they could have found themselves, if all results went poorly, they could have found themselves 15 points out of first place at the end of that stretch of games. And now they find themselves topping their group and firmly back in a title race in Spain. And it's so funny because at the beginning of that stretch of games, Zidane was asked, do you think this is your last game? Before the Sevilla game, he was asked, do you think this is your last game as Real Madrid manager? And now, after the Madrid derby win, he was asked the question, do you think you're going to become the Sir Alex Ferguson of Real Madrid? That is how much of a shift there was from this stretch of games for Real Madrid. So big ups to them for kind of pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and getting themselves back in this season. Real Madrid in at number 9.
Yeah, Adam. Football's a fickle game, isn't it? Football's a fickle game. People's attitudes change so quickly. And we discussed Madrid a couple of weeks ago, and we were saying this period is absolutely do or die for Zidane, and just somehow he's managed to pull it out of the bag.
Yeah. All right. In at, where was I? Number 8? Yes. At number 8. I have got Bayer Leverkusen, just like Charlie, some newcomers to the list. Recent results were the big 4-1 win against Hoffenheim, and they actually had 6 players missing due to COVID in that game. So that's an impressive win. And they're flying in the Europa League at the moment as well. So, look, this is, I think, German football's dark horse for the title this year in a league where it seems like Bayern are going on runs, but they are kind of they will drop points here and there, and points they shouldn't drop. And we've seen what's happening with Dortmund with their coach being sacked and an embarrassing 5-1 loss at home. So it seems like at the moment Germany is actually wide open, and maybe a team like Leverkusen is poised to take that first spot. I think we're going to do a special segment on them, so I'm not going to release too much information right now about them. But yeah, I've got Bayer Leverkusen in at number 8. And then I believe identical to you, or no, you've got Juventus in at 10. So you did mention that I'm not that high on them, yet I've got them 3 places higher than you. I've got Juventus in at number 7. They were previously unranked for me, but that big 3-0 win in Barcelona, and they finally hit some form in the league as well. They look like they're starting to have a bit of an idea. Dybala is finally putting the ball in the back of the net. It seemed like Pirlo had just kind of said, you're going to play yourself out of this rut that you're in, so you continue to play and play and play. He finally puts the ball in the back of the net, and you could see the reaction from his teammates when he scored. They were absolutely loving it. So it seems like the feel-good factor is maybe starting to creep back into this Juventus team. And this is a league in Serie A that is not supremely talented. So if a team like Juventus goes on a run, they could run away with this title. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we've seen it happen many times with this Juventus team. I do just want to point out that one of the talisman of this new Juventus revolution is America's very own Weston McKennie, who got the equalizer in the Turin derby, and he had that absolute beast of a scissor kick at the Camp Nou. So yeah, I'll always shout out my American players. So shout out Weston McKennie. Juventus is in at number 7. In at number 6, finally, I've got Tottenham Hotspur. They were previously ranked 7, so they've moved up. Their recent results were a 1-1 draw away at Crystal Palace. They beat Antwerp in the Europa League 2-0. Not that big of a deal, but they did have the big 2-0 win, a dominant 2-0 win at home against Arsenal in the North London derby. I've mentioned it before. They're my favorites to win the Premier League. I thought the game against Palace, that second half, showed me a little bit of arrogance from Jose Mourinho. They sat on that 1-0 lead for literally 80 minutes. They got that goal in around the 22nd minute, and then they just sat back and did nothing. I think Palace were there for the taking if they wanted to, but Charlie, you've mentioned this before, that kind of attitude, that negative attitude, could be their downfall, and maybe we're seeing just a hint of it in that Palace game. But so far, they've been rather untouchable in the league. I don't think it'll happen that often that they don't capitalize on their winning positions. But their next 3 league games are Liverpool, Leicester, and Wolves. So that is going to be a really big period for them, especially in this tight festive fixture window in the Premier League. So I've got Tottenham in at number 6. What are we thinking, Charlie?
Yeah, strangely enough, I did actually say about Tottenham, we'll find out a little bit more about them once they start playing against worse teams. Because against these great teams that were kind of pressing them, pinning them back into their own half, Spurs were able to hit them really effectively on the counter-attack. And that was kind of what United did at the start. And when Solskjaer took over at the beginning, that was what made them so successful. And I thought, I did have like a strong feeling that against Palace, that Palace could get something from the game. And that's what happened. But I'm going to go on to talk about Tottenham in a little while. Because I think they've got the Liverpool game coming up tomorrow, I believe. And I think they'll get a lot of joy in that game. So, there's more to come from Tottenham. But also, just before we move on, seeing as we're only doing ranks and reports, just the rankings in this episode, I like that you've got Leon in the top 10. That's nice. They were very close to mine. And a very interesting thing I heard about Leon was Memphis Depay, who kind of went there as a winger, but can play up front as well. He obviously went to Man United as a youngster, really highly rated youngster, and his career didn't really take off at all at United. You saw flashes of brilliance from him, but his career didn't take off at all. So knowing his own ability and the kind of talent that he had, he went to like a football data / stats expert and said to him, what club in Europe would suit my play style the best? And he said Leon. So I was told this by a reliable source. Believe me, I was. But so apparently he approached Leon. I'm sure Leon would have wanted him anyway. I think, the young talent that he was such that most clubs in Europe would have been open to the idea of signing him. But one of his entourage approached Leon and basically said, this guy is perfect for your play style. And then they showed them all these stats and stuff. And that's how he ended up going there. He's actually been a raging success since he went
it worked
there,
out splendidly for him.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting story.
Yeah, interesting little one there. But yeah, no, I'm glad you got Leon in there. They came close to mine. But I'll do my 5-1 now, seeing as we're approaching that part of the show. Number 5, I have got Liverpool. I'm not going to spoil it. Not going to spoil it, guys. But look, Liverpool at number 5. You can infer from my body language who someone might have left out this week from their top 10. But they're still second in the Premier League. Last 2 league results, a 4-0 win at home to a very good Wolves side. That's a great result. That's a really, really good result. Because Wolves are a good side. They give a lot of, top sides tough games. But then after that, 1-1 draw away at Fulham, played really, really badly. They got lucky to come away with a point from that game, actually. So, but they're still level on points with Tottenham at the top of the Premier League, and they deserve a lot of plaudits for the way they've handled their injury crisis. Trent Alexander-Arnold actually came back into the side against Fulham. So now it's just the centre-backs really that they're missing. But Fabinho's a very capable, deputy there at centre-back. And Joel Matip's not too bad either. So worryingly for fans of other great sides in the Premier League, they're coping really well, Liverpool. Salah's flying on 13 goals already this season. Mane's had a comparatively slow start with 5. And Jota absolutely flying. But he's got injured recently, so he'll be out for the next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a bit more. So that's good news for everyone else. Bad news for Liverpool, but Firmino has come back into the side and they're looking to be playing quite well at the moment. So Liverpool, 5th place, game against Tottenham coming up, absolutely huge for what we'll learn about both sides. Number 4, AC Milan. They've been, lurking near the top of our list for a long time now. But, it's hard to put them right near the top. Firstly, because they're in the Europa League, so the calibre of their European opponents is relatively poor. So it's hard to get a proper assessment of where they are until they play, a lot of really good teams. And the fact
can I butt in?
Yes,
can I butt in real quick?
Of course,
because I've been waiting for a moment to drop this statistic on you.
Yeah, go
So we obviously just had the Champions League and Europa League draws on Monday. Here's a stat for you. 13 teams in the Europa League are first in their domestic league. 0 in the Champions League are first in their domestic league.
Wow. That says a lot about this season, really, doesn't it?
It says a lot. Maybe the caliber of opponent that you're playing in the Europa League is just as tough, if not slightly better than the Champions League.
I suppose so. I would have to look to double check at who is in AC Milan. Actually, I think I know. I think it's definitely Sparta Prague, and I think it might be Lille.
They had
Celtic.
Lille and yeah. And Lille are joint top of France right now. So
true. Lille are good, but didn't Lille beat AC Milan once or twice?
They beat them in Milan. They tied at Lille.
Right. So what I'm saying is,
it's just a stat, my friend.
No, it's a good stat. It's a really good stat. But the one I've got written down here is Sparta Prague away win. So what? Do you know what I mean? Oh, fair play. You beat Sparta Prague. But yeah, so their recent league game was a 2-2 draw with Parma at home. That's the reason they're not a little bit higher. So their really good form dipped a little bit. They're still top of Serie A, 3 points clear of everyone else. Obviously still playing really well, but that was just the first little drop in form there. And also Ibrahimovic is out with a hamstring injury, and they've coped quite well without him. Brahim Diaz has stepped up. He's got 4 goals this season, the former City winger. So yeah, AC Milan still there or thereabouts, still clear at the top of Serie A, deservedly in 4th. 3rd place, I've got Atletico Madrid. God, I was really begging for them to pull something out of the bag so that we could have a new table topper in this week's top 10. But they faltered 2-0 loss at the Bernabeu to Real Madrid. Before that, they won 2-0 at home to Valladolid. They've only conceded 4 goals in 11 league games this season, so they're keeping it really, really tight at the back. However, they're still joint top of La Liga, and they've got 2 games in hand on Real Sociedad as well, whose form is really slowing down. They're not even in my list this week because I think they've got 6 draws in a row in all competitions, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, Atletico, if it wasn't for that one slip up, they would have been right up there, but still in good form. Away win in Salzburg is nothing to be scoffed at. 2-0. They're a great team, Salzburg, so they did well to come away with a victory and keep a clean sheet in Salzburg. Very impressive. And yeah, that's it really for Atletico. 3rd place. 2nd place. God, the dizzying heights of 2nd for Tottenham Hotspur this week. I'm rapidly becoming a convert and it's annoying me. It really is. Heung-min Son and Harry Kane absolutely carrying the side. Son has got 12 goals, 5 assists. Kane has got 10 goals, 12 assists, both of which are absolutely stupendous. Last 2 league games, you got a 2-0 win at home to Arsenal in the North London derby. Absolutely outclassed them, but to be honest, beating Arsenal's nothing to be too proud of these days. They're in absolutely dismal form. And then recently, as we just talked about, 1-1 draw away at Palace. But yeah, I'm continuing to be very impressed with Spurs. Even the fact that they drew against Palace, when they did get the ball, they played so well. And I think that it's what boils down to what the list is. I would fancy Spurs against almost any team in Europe at the moment. I really would. Mourinho is in tip-top form. His confidence is back. It's almost like, I didn't know a confidence manager was a thing, but it really seems that way. He's kind of doing the whole mafia boss thing on the touchline. He's got his little minions scuttling about behind him. He seems like he's loving life. And his confidence is kind of emanating onto the team. And big game against Liverpool. I think they'll get a lot of joy in that game. I would not be surprised at all to see them win it. But when we get further into the season, can they hold up against teams that will sit off them? That's something that remains to be seen. So Spurs, second at the moment on current form. First place, very lucky to be clinging on to first place this week. It's Bayern Munich. No real surprises. Lewandowski's up to 16 goals this season. Thomas Muller's been in good goal-scoring form. He's up to seven assists. They've actually drawn 3 of their last 4 games in the league. So you might say, why the hell are they still in first place? And they drew against Atletico in the Champions League as well. And to be honest, it's just because their form was so dominant before that. And I wanted to put someone else top this week, but no one really grabbed me by the neck and said, put me top. No one has done that over the last couple of weeks, and it's unfortunate, really. But, they're still playing fairly well, Bayern Munich, but they are conceding a lot of shots. They're showing some vulnerabilities all of a sudden. But yeah, just about still in there. They're now second in the Bundesliga, but still just a massive force to be reckoned with in European football, and still probably the biggest and best team around at the moment.
I think Bayern's probably a bit tired, to be honest. I think that plays a huge part in it. They've played, other than PSG, they've played the most football in Europe. Actually, you can't even compare them to PSG because they didn't have the second half of their domestic season last year. Nobody's played more football than Bayern Munich, so I think you probably put it down to a bit of lethargy.
It's bound to happen at some point, wasn't it?
Yeah. All right. I like your top 5. Like you said before this, we have some glaring differences this week. I think some of our biggest differences we've ever had. So before we even get into our little debates, I'll give my 1 through 5. All right. Coming in at number 5, I have got AC Milan. I previously had them ranked at number 2. I wouldn't say they've hit a rough patch, but they've slowed down slightly. Their recent results were a 2-2 draw against Parma, in which they came from behind twice in that game to equalize. That 1-0 win against Sparta Prague, and then a 2-1 win versus Sampdoria. You said it, though. There's no Ibrahimovic. And to be quite honest, they don't really have another center forward to come in and play. Against Sampdoria, Ante Rebic played up front. I think he's a brilliant footballer, but he's not a center forward. So to still be sitting top of the league in a patch of games where they don't have their talisman, who is a leader, not just in his play, but also a emotional and mental leader. I'd have to say I'm pretty proud of these young players who I want the best for them because I want to see this club come back to the top. So 7 days from this video, though, they will have already played Sassuolo and Lazio in the league. So we could easily be singing their praises in a week's time, or it's a tough 2 games right there. They could easily drop points in both of those and maybe even fall down to 3rd, 4th, or 5th in the league because there are teams just snapping at their heels at the moment. So it'll be a defining week, I think, for Milan.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because, without Ibra, weirdly enough, left-back Theo Hernandez had to come up with the goods twice against Parma, a brace for the left-back. So I don't know whether that's a good sign or a bad sign. I mean, it can't hurt, can it, if people like that are chipping in with goals to kind of see it out for the team.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I had AC Milan in at number 5. In at number 4, we got our old boys, RB Leipzig, back in. They were previously unranked for me, and they jump all the way up to number 4. The recent results were a 2-0 win at home against Man United, a 3-3 draw versus Bayern Munich, and a 4-3 win versus Istanbul Başakşehir. I actually think I missed a league game in there, but look, they went through a really rough patch. They've dropped out of both of our rankings for, I think, 2 episodes. But they bounced back. They find themselves back in 3rd, only 1 point out of 1st in the league. They got out of a very tough Champions League group. So they're kind of digging in, and like you said, there's no recognized striker there, and they've got left backs tripping in with goals, and their midfielders are obviously all very creative and fun to watch. So they're still there and thereabouts, like we said they would be, whether it's sustainable for a title push or a Champions League run. Who's to say? But they're still there, and yeah, they're back up in number 4. In at number 3, I've got Atletico Madrid. They were previously ranked number 3. They haven't moved at all for me. They did have that 2-0 loss in the Madrid derby in a game where it seemed like Simeone reverted back to old Simeone in big games. Lately with Joao Felix, Luis Suarez, Marcus Llorente, we've seen a bit more of a creative attacking side from this team, but they really reverted back. In fact, Simeone himself said after the game that even at 2-0 down, they were going for damage limitation. That is not what I want to hear when I am pretty much firmly in first place. I mean, obviously they've got games in hand they have to win, but that game they could have put themselves in double-digit point lead over their city rivals in Real Madrid. So to be only 2-0 down and going for damage limitation, it's not really what I want to hear. That's definitely the old Simeone. But they can turn that around very easily, and they're still firmly in first place with those games in hand. So they also had that 3-3 draw against Bayern Munich and the 4-3 win. Sorry, I'm all over the place. That's why we can't record first thing in the morning. But they beat Valladolid 2-0 in the league. Like you said, they've only conceded 4 goals in the league up to this point, which is unbelievable. So if those goals do come back from Joao Felix and Luis Suarez and guys like that, then they're going to continue to go on a run. So Atletico Madrid are in at number 3. In at number 2, this is our big difference here. I've got Napoli, who Charlie does not have ranked. I absolutely love this team. I previously had them ranked at number 5, and on our Serie A discussion video last week, I had tipped them to win Serie A. So I'm not sure what Charlie's got going through his head, but we'll find out in a minute. But Napoli previously had a 2-1 win over Sampdoria in which they went behind and they had to come back and win, and they looked really impressive doing it. They had a 1-1 draw against the very tough-to-beat Real Sociedad, and then they had a 4-0 win versus Crotone in which they looked very impressive. And I think right now, I said it last week, I think this is the best attacking side in Italian football, and that's without Victor Osimhen at the moment. So that's their real point man of this attack still to come back in. The 1-1 draw is always a tough game against Sociedad, but I think the biggest thing with this Napoli side, I think what has hampered them in the past in these title races is they conceded goals in bad times, and that's not really happening anymore. And when they did concede a bad goal against Sampdoria, they turned it right around, equalized quickly, won the game 2-1. So that shows a lot of resiliency for me, and that's coming from a team that hasn't shown that recently, in recent years at least. So yeah, I'm really high on Napoli at the moment. I still think, for me, they're my favorites to win Serie A, but only time will tell. So Napoli are in at number 2. And in at number 1, very boring, Bayern Munich. They're previously ranked number 1. That's, I think, 4 episodes in a row now. Or 5 episodes maybe. But the recent results were a 1-1 draw against Union Berlin. That's a really tough game. No matter where Union sit in the table, that is a tough game. They had that 2-0 win against Lokomotiv Moscow and a really entertaining 3-3 draw against RB Leipzig in the league. This quote-unquote rough spell has, kind of come over the team. But a 3-3 draw against the second-best team in Germany isn't awful. And that 1-1 draw at Union could have easily been a win. There were some brilliant saves from Lutha, I think is how you pronounce it, in the Union net. So if you haven't seen the highlights of that game, go and watch that, because Bayern Munich were all over them and the goalie stood on his head to keep them out of the net. So I got Bayern Munich very boringly in at number 1.
Okay, let's address the elephant in the room then. Needs to be addressed, doesn't it? It needs to be addressed. Napoli, you're loving Napoli. To be fair, I like Napoli as well. Let's not get it twisted. I love a lot of the players in their team. I haven't watched a ton of their games this season, but I can imagine they are fantastic to watch with the players that they've got. And I think they're a very complete squad as well. But it's like I was saying, the big shake-up means that they just missed out for me. They just missed out. Like, do you want me to state my case?
Well, here's my thing. Yeah, I do want to hear your reasoning, but a big part of this is not that I think it's tough because everybody lost games over this period, that it's really hard to make a case for anybody really to say they are the second best team in Europe at the moment or whatever, because part of this is just like you didn't lose. That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody else lost somewhere along the line, and they didn't. So they had to I just couldn't, in my heart of hearts, could not take a team that is still winning it doesn't matter who's in front of them. They beat who's put in front of them, and everyone else is losing. So to me, they got to just climb up the rankings.
I think it's maybe a bit of both. Bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Because I think maybe you might have been a tad too generous putting them up to second, but I think I might have overlooked them slightly by putting them in 11th. But I think it was just difficult to get in my rankings this week. If you look at number 10, I actually found it so difficult to rank the teams this week. You look at number 10, Juve have won 2 tricky games in Serie A. They're 10th on my list, by the way. 2 tricky Serie A games and a 3-0 win at the Nou Camp. And they're a massive club. So the massive clubs, it's a little bit easier for them to get onto the list because of their prestige. You know, they've got a little bit less to prove. But let's say a club like Bayer Leverkusen are there just on form alone. Top of the Bundesliga, 2 massive wins in the league, massive win in the Europa League. And then even Real Madrid, 2 wins against 2 really big clubs. I just think Napoli were very, very close, but just the scale of teams that they beat in the last couple of weeks. What is it? Crotone, they beat 4-0, and then Sampdoria, like you were saying, they beat 2-1. And the only team that really would have thrust them right into the mix is Sociedad. If they beat Sociedad, we love Sociedad, so, you know, we would have been thinking, you know, fair play, proper team.
Yeah.
So that's my reasoning, really. That's why I left them out, but...
Well, you say that Juventus had 2 tricky games and Napoli didn't, but they beat Torino. And yes, it's a derby, but they're 18th place on 6 points, and they beat Genoa, who are 19 on 6 points. So, you know, their quality of opposition isn't great either, and they got by in those games by the skin of their teeth. Whereas Napoli, I know the win over Sampdoria was only 2-1, but it was a dominating performance. They gave up a bit of a crappy goal, but they did dominate for that 2-1 win, and they absolutely annihilated Crotone. So
everyone's got their own criteria, haven't they? It's like I really think the big games are worth a lot. You expect any team in this top 10 to kind of roll over any team that's in the bottom half of their domestic league. But, you know, when Juve go to the Nou Camp and win 3-0, even though Barcelona are in bad form, that's going to kind of raise eyebrows. And then Napoli, you're really begging for them to beat Sociedad if you're going to learn about them and learn about what they've really got. So I think it's just, the attention that I pay to the big games. But I agree. Napoli
To be fair, though, nobody can beat Sociedad. They just don't lose. So I don't know. It's a tough one. I'm interested to see who Napoli got in the Europa League. Let me just scroll through their schedule here real quick. They got Granada in the Europa League. So that's, you know, it's not like they're going up against top Champions League caliber opponent, but Granada is not a team that's going to just roll over. So
they should be winning the Europa League, really. They're probably the best team in the Europa League.
I think so, yeah. Obviously, they've got some of the Champions League teams that have fallen down into the Europa League, but they should be in that Final 4, Final 2. So one more thing I want to address before we get out of here, because we do have to get out of here for time constraints. But Liverpool, again, I don't have them in my rankings.
Wow.
It's not the feeling I get when watching them is that every game I know they had the 4-0 win against Wolves, and that was thoroughly dominant, but they get by games by the skin of their teeth. That Fulham game, they could have been 4-0 down in the first half. I mean, Fulham had 2 breakaways in the first 10 minutes of the game. And then Fabinho, he gave away a penalty for me. It wasn't given. It could have easily been 3-0 in the first half, just like that, which they're not going to come back from. So, I don't know. They seem to just be getting through games by the skin of their teeth. And to be honest, you know, Tottenham's the only English side I had in my rankings, and that's because no one in England is flying. They're just not. Everyone is just scraping by.
It's true.
So,
but weirdly, I still get that feeling when I watch Liverpool. I feel fairly confident that they're going to win the game. I know they have scraped through some games this season, but not all games. They battered Wolves 4-0. They battered Leicester 3-0. They're 2 really good sides, and they did comfortably see them off. And it's weird, you compare them to the other kind of top teams in England, like Man City, who definitely were a top team last year anyway. You know, I watch our games, and I'm not filled with confidence at all. I'm like, please saying a prayer to the Lord, can we please nick this game? But Liverpool, I'm always fairly confident they're going to win it. I think their stock's fallen, but not a huge amount, and that's why I've still got them lurking in mid-table there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to get out of here for today. Like I said, we are going to be back later this week with another video. We're going to do our disappointment clubs of the season up to this point. We're also going to, I think, chat about some Bayern Leverkusen, which should be fun because they're new to our rankings. And then also next week, we're going to get into some Champions League talk. So we are only doing our rankings for today, but that is so that we can just get you guys more content. And like we said earlier in the show, we also want to get you guys more involved. So if you're still listening right now, drop a comment below and give us your rankings. Give us your thoughts on our rankings. Give us some ideas for videos if you want to hear anything specific. If you want your club talked about or whatever it may be, just give us a shout. You can hit us up on Twitter at @rank_report. DM us, tweet at us, whatever it is, or drop a comment on this video. And while you're down there, if you haven't, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified when we release a new video. What else is there? If you like the audio version of this show, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just search for the Rank and Report Football Show, and we will be the first thing that comes up. I think that is it for today. Charlie, any last words for the people?
Just, plenty more to come from us. Like Adam's just said, a few videos in the pipeline. They'll be out in the next week or week and a half, next few days. Keep your eyes peeled, and we'll see you then.
All right. See you.